Hey guys, I am Dr. Anthony Gustin.
I'm Chris Irvin.
And we're going to be talking to you today about dirty keto, what it is, why you should not be doing it, and what you should be doing instead. So Chris, what is dirty keto, man?
Dirty keto. So I feel like dirty keto is just the way that everybody's doing keto nowadays. It's kind of the way that it's introduced to people. I feel like for a lot of times we get introduced to keto as it's a macronutrient-based diet, and that's the only thing that people worry about, and it kind of leads to this dirty keto lifestyle.
Well, dirty keto is what people maybe think of general low carb or like an Atkins style approach, where you're just eating bacon and butter and cheese sticks fried in butter, with more bacon on the side, like something like that.
Yeah, just low quality bunless burgers, pork rinds, nacho cheese.
If it doesn't have a carb, good to go.
Yeah.
And so technically you actually will be in a state of ketosis, which is what makes it tricky. So obviously if you're watching this video, you probably know what ketosis is, but when you restrict carbohydrates, your body starts running on breakdown of fats, so ketones, right? And so you can be in a state of ketosis technically, but ketosis is not necessarily healthy just if you have ketones floating in your bloodstream. Mm-hmm. And so, what do you think are the problems of eating such a low quality diet?
I think the biggest thing is micronutrient deficiencies and like lack of variety in your diet, I think are the big ones. A lot of these foods that people are eating, while they may be low in carbs, they're also very low in various micronutrients that are extremely important. I think that also a lot of the times when you're following this dirty keto approach, it's just low quality food too. Like you're getting more packaged foods, things with really long ingredient labels. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that you're missing out on the benefits of eating a real whole food based keto diet.
Yeah, and if you're kind of concerned about, should I be eating not real food or real food? I mean, your body is literally made up of the things that you eat.
Right.
And so one of the examples that I give all the time is the quality of fat. And so when you're eating dirty keto, you're getting really awful fats. And why does that matter? I mean, one of the big reasons is that all of your cells, think about them like as beach bowls. And the lining of that beach bowl is made of fat, right? And so if you eat low quality fat, you go from looking like a beach bowl, and you have receptors in your cells that receive messages and send messages and do a lot of functions. That starts crumpling up if you have really brittle, awful fats, and that becomes part of your cell lining, all of your cells. Mm-hmm. The problem is that takes about 2 years to turn over. Yeah, 2 years to make a new cell in most of your body. And so all of the fat that you're eating that's low quality fat stays in your body and makes up your tissues for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty important point.
Yeah, it really is. And if you look at the way that a lot of people, they do this fast food keto where it's like, oh, I'm going to McDonald's, Wendy's, all these places, and I'm just removing the bun, I'm staying low carb, but you're having meats that are fried in really low quality fats, vegetable oils, and you're just getting a ton of these low quality fats in your diet. And that's the way that I think a lot of people, they just feel like that's the best way to do keto, or at least that's the way to do it. Like you said, they're getting ketones present in their blood, they're in ketosis. That's the whole basis of a keto diet, or as far as they know. And there we go, we have dirty keto.
Right, and so another reason why that this is not ideal is that you're gonna need a huge amount of inflammation. And so inflammation is one of these things that's the main driver to a lot of processes in your body that break down and cause disease states. So you mean even when I'm super inflamed, if I'm gonna go for ketogenic diet or maybe drink some alcohol, I can tell it, like my knee that I have an injury in flares up.
Yeah.
And so these are some of those things where if you have a lot of skin problems, joint problems, pain, it's not just about getting fat levels to where they're at and losing fat. You can do that for sure to some degree. And I know we have a podcast about plateaus on keto, and one of the biggest things that we've said on there is that if you're struggling to lose weight on keto, your body has probably such a high level, baseline level of inflammation that it doesn't know what the hell is going on anymore. And so it's fixing and putting all these fires all around your body. It has no time to burn fat and worry about where you are metabolically.
Yeah.
And so to put out all of the fires and so your body can actually catch up and do the work it needs to do, you need to be eating real foods that aren't extremely inflammatory. And so...
Yeah, and a lot of times too, when people first start keto, because maybe their baseline level of inflammation is so high or they're so insulin resistant, they can see great results following this dirty keto diet because it's still better than the diet that was high in processed carbohydrates and foods like that. So I think that that's one of the reasons why people feel like, oh, well, I'm losing weight, there's ketones in my blood, this is an okay way to do it. But I think the inflammation is probably the biggest problem with this lazy keto approach. I mean, we see that everybody has different responses to, in their blood lipids, they see different responses to a ketogenic diet. And some of these responses could potentially be harmful if they're in conjunction with elevated inflammation levels. So for a lot of these people who, maybe you're somebody who responds to a ketogenic diet with increased LDL levels, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but having high LDL levels with high inflammation is.
Ooh.
So
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster, yeah. So you really have to make sure that you're not following a ketogenic diet that is also pro-inflammatory, because that could be harmful to your health.
Right. And so if that's not the way to do it, if bacon, butter, cheese in unlimited amounts is not the way to go, then what's the alternative?
I think the alternative is focusing on food quality first and foremost. I think food quality and variety. I think those are two things that are really important. I know that when you go to the store, it can be really confusing when you're trying to buy packaged foods. A lot of them are processed. A lot of them contain a lot of ingredients that you call them frankenfoods. That that just have a lot of stuff that they're just not real foods. And I think the biggest thing is cutting those out and focusing on real whole foods with a lot of variety.
Yeah, I mean, a general rule of thumb that I have too is if it doesn't spoil within like 2 weeks, if you left it on your counter, it doesn't spoil, probably shouldn't be eating much of it.
Right.
And so that goes with a lot of stuff. So things like Velveeta cheese, bricks of cheese that sit on the counter for 18 years until you purchase it.
Yeah.
Probably not a good source of food, you know
No.
what I mean? And these are the type of things that you just eat the things that come from the closest sources possible. So wild meat's better than stuff that comes from a factory. And same with cheese production, same with all this stuff. The closer you can get to just a real whole food, the better.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, one of the reasons why people tend to be resistant to that is because it is obviously more expensive to eat this way. Like going with a higher quality, you're looking for the highest quality grass-fed and finished meats, you're going for, organic produce, things like that. It is more expensive, but I think the biggest thing that people need to realize is that your health is an investment and it's not an expense. It's something that you should be spending a little bit extra on it. Like you said, everything that you put in your body it relates to how your body functions, how it operates, everything. So it's something that needs to be focused on.
And there's a lot of tips that we can give you guys maybe in another video of how you can do keto on a budget, like a Keto Plus, which is like what we like to call the nutrient dense version of keto. And so it's something we could dig into probably forever. But yeah, I mean, no one else is expensive is heart disease, stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Joint replacements, that's expensive. Like things like that. And so obviously we don't want that. And so we want to avoid that stuff. So there's certainly ways to do it. But generally speaking, the more you can approximate from packaged foods, high in inflammatory oils, all the way over to real foods, the better. And I think that some of the biggest things that you can do to replace that, cutting out vegetable oil, so anything soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable of any sort, and moving to like an avocado or olive oil, and even like a palm oil, and these super stable oils, like that could be a really huge change to decrease the inflammation levels.
Yeah, and I think the vegetable oils brings up an interesting point with a lot of people who dine out frequently on a keto diet. I know that's like one thing that's I've been amazed over the last couple months is how frequently vegetable oils are used when you're dining out. So when you have these people who they're eating a keto diet that's primarily based on like eating at getting omelets at diners, burgers at restaurants, or even whether it's fast food or just traditional restaurants, a lot of these are, first off, you have to worry about the quality of the product, but then they're also usually cooked in vegetable oils, which is a huge problem. So, and it's almost unavoidable. So I feel like the point I think that's the best thing for this is shopping locally. I think that's the point you made that is the best, is that if the food is grown closer to you, hasn't had to go through as much stuff to make sure that it can handle shipping and all of that, it's a lot higher quality.
Yeah. So I guess the next step for you would be to think about, are you doing dirty keto, eating whatever the hell you want and having it be just low carb, or are you looking at the food quality and how it actually would be incorporated to your body? I mean, that's another thing too, looking at your food and be like, would I want myself to be made of this? Because that's the truth of it. Like, I mean, a lot of people, I think, miss that step. And so think about that. Now you guys know what dirty keto is, maybe why it's a problem and what to do instead. I'm Dr. Anthony Gustin. Like I said, you can follow me at Dr. Anthony Gustin on Instagram.
I'm Chris Irvin. You can follow me at the Ketologist on Instagram.